Play ball!
Welcome back, everyone, to the Retro Baseball Game Challenge, where I review every old baseball game I can get my hands on. If it's your first time to this series, the concept is basically I'll play some old baseball game. We'll review it on 5 major categories: hitting, pitching, fielding / base running, presentation, and replay value. And then at the end, we'll give it a final grade on the typical tier system. You can see the games we've played here so far. If you're curious, go back and watch some of those videos. But today's episode, we are playing Baseball Blast, released in 2009 by 2K for the Nintendo Wii. Like I mentioned in my last video, it's a game I've never heard of before, and we're just kind of going into this one blind, so let's see how it plays. Now, when turning on Baseball Blast for the first time, you can quickly tell that this is actually not a quote-unquote regular baseball game, so it is going to be a little bit different from the games we've played so far. It's actually more of a party baseball game revolved around a lot of different baseball-themed mini-games. But anyways, there are 4 main game modes in Baseball Blast. There's Season Blast, which is the main single-player game where you essentially just play through all the mini-games and try to get the highest ranking possible. There's Party Blast, which is the same thing as the first game, except you can do so with multiple players, with the addition of the main game mode in the entire package, and that's Baseball Blast, which essentially allows you to play an exhibition game up to 9 innings with up to 4 players, where you'll compete in mini games between every inning and then use those mini games and the rewards you win from them to play a kind of baseball type card game between innings. It's actually kind of fun, and I'll dive into it a little bit later. Once you've played a lot of the mini games in single player mode, you'll also unlock the last 2 game modes, and that's Trivia Time, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a trivia baseball game you can play with up to 4 players again, and Poster Puzzle, which is just an alternative game mode where you can use the Wii Motion Plus and kind of twist puzzle pieces to make a puzzle. And that's the entire package. This is going to be kind of tough to review because, again, it's not a regular baseball game. But I'm going to start with the Baseball Blast game mode, which is the main, most baseball-centric game in the entire package because you actually play a 9-inning game. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit. I'll show you some of the footage and me streaming the game, and then we'll dive into each mini game individually. And then at the end, I'm not going to be able to do my normal 5 categories since hitting, pitching, fielding, base running, some of that doesn't really apply here. So we're just going to go straight to the final tier score at the end of the video. But let's get started. Alright guys, so I wanted to show you the main game mode here, which is Baseball Blast, which unfortunately you can't play with a single player, so I'm going to kind of dual wield here, and just to kind of show you the game mode, we're just going to play a little 3-inning game, so you can kind of get a feel for what that is. But this is the most, like I mentioned before, the most baseball-centric game mode in the entire game, and essentially allows you to play mini games throughout an exhibition game. Alright guys, let's pick our teams here. I'm going to let's go with some teams I almost never play as. Let's go with the Dodgers for team 1, and then who do we want to play against? Late 2000s. Oh, let's go with Colorado for team number 2. Something you'll quickly find out is all the players pretty much look the same here. So not much effort went into creating individual player models, but there are 2 players for each team. There's a pitcher taken from each team and a hitter. So we'll see what was chosen for these 2 teams in a moment here. But essentially they took the best player, best pitcher, and the best hitter for each team, because some mini games require you to do both or one of each. So yeah, let's get started here.
Oh, and welcome to the ballpark, everybody. What a day. We're all in for a wild one today. Glad you could be with us today, everybody. I'm Bob Euchre alongside my partner, Rob Dibble. And now let's see who's here to play. Representing the Los Angeles Dodgers, it's Chad Billingsley and Manny Ramirez. Representing the Colorado Rockies, it's Aaron Cook.
I figured they would get Todd Helton.
This looks
Wasn't
like
sure
a good
when
one.
he retired.
Let's get started.
As you can see, they all kind of look the same. Just different skin tones, pretty much. Here is the general premise to this game. Between innings, you'll get 3 at-bats to try to advance runners as far as you can, but only 3 at-bats. So any runners left on base will carry over to the next inning. Between innings, though, you'll play mini games, and if you win the mini games, you'll get cards and boosts you can use to help yourself with hitting, or you can get cards that hurt the opposing players.
Right-handed pitcher for the Rockies. Here's Aaron Cook.
Yeah.
Swing. And a little dribbler.
Now, I have played this before recording, and I haven't really been able to figure out how to hit well, whether I'm standing up trying to swing like a real baseball bat or just sit here and wiggle the Wii remote. It seems to be mostly based on timing and not much else, which again is disappointing. The fact that there's a Wii Remote Plus game that doesn't really use it whatsoever.
And now batting.
I know he's
Todd
lefty, but
Helton.
we're still going to go right
And
here.
now on the mound, Chad Billingsley.
Yeah.
Not sure what he's swinging at. Not the same ball I'm watching.
Player 1, you're up. And here he comes. That was a
That's finding
frozen
the
run.
gap. It's hard, but the camera angles in this game are pretty terrible.
Good piece of hitting right there. It's a base hit.
But we'll get to that. Yeah, it sucked.
Off the end of the bat. Not much power there.
Alright, so no one's on base, but it's still going to go to the mini games.
Let's check the scoreboard.
Let's see which ones we get.
We're in a scoreless tie. Time for a little fun. Let's play Carney Ball.
Was that Manny Ramirez for that brief time he was on the Dodgers? Ball. I forget.
Welcome to Rogers Center.
Which one
If you're
this is.
looking for a
Again,
little
it's gonna be
target
weird since I'm
practice,
playing with
you've
two.
come to the right ballpark.
Playing a
The best
multiplayer
arms
game
in the
as one
majors
player.
will try out their.
They're not kidding.
You don't actually throw anything, you just press buttons. It's like a little
wow.
little light gun game. So you can see, depending on what place you get, first, second, third, or fourth, you get these little cards. And these cards allow you to do something. Blue are cards you can use on yourself to help your hitting abilities in the regular game. And orange or red cards you can give to opponents to hinder them. But we'll see what these mean in a second. You do get, I think it's 2 mini games between each inning. So if you play a full game, you're playing 18 additional mini games on top of the regular baseball game. If I remember correctly, this is kind of this is the mini game where you just kind of aim the path
home of the Boston
how
Red
you want to
Sox.
throw the
You know,
pitch.
this whole
You
place
can tell
has
from the
seen
game
some of the
rules
best
here
pitching
that
the game's
you don't
had to offer
actually
over the decades.
curve your Wii
And
remote or
today's
anything like
looking
that.
to
You just
keep that
press the
tradition
button, you want
going.
to curve it in,
Pitching's not
which
as
kind
easy
of,
as it looks.
I don't know.
And now it's going to get even
Kind of
trickier.
seems like a missed
This
opportunity
time,
to
though,
make it more
you'll
fun
need
or
to
more
mix in your
challenging.
change.
But you try to just throw as many pitches as you can in the time limit you have without getting hit by the AI opponent. And you just kind of take turns. First player, second player, and so on.
A well-executed pitch is a
So
tire.
player 1 is going to win that again. And that should be
They were
reflected in
just
the cards we
unhittable
get
today.
here. Let's see.
Chalk up a victory for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Man, I forgot how much the Nintendo Wii disc drive spins and makes clicking noises. So yeah, the first player, if you win the mini game, you get more cards you can use in the main game, which will make sense in a second. Oh, I lied. I guess we get 3 mini games between each inning. So Diamond Double. Let's see what that is.
Welcome, sports fans.
This is
Seasoned warriors have come from far
this is
off
just like a
realms
batting
to test their
practice
skill
minigame where you
and to
try
display
to
their strength in a contest of arms.
the highest
that
scoring
catapult can
duels
really chuck
that are
it.
in the outfield. You'll
Same
see in a
strategy
second.
this time.
And it's all about timing. And it doesn't really matter how I swing, from what I can tell.
That ball was ripped.
So I'm trying to hit it just dead center.
That was a frozen rope.
For the highest scoring round.
Helton is a quality first baseman in addition to his incredible success with the bat. This guy can do it all.
And I don't know if you can hear it. There are sound effects. There are always mini games that come on the Wii remotes. Let's see what we got. Extra base on any hit. Alright, try that.
Now it starts to get interesting.
Alright, let's pay attention.
Skipper is hoping for something big here. And here it is.
Yeah. A lot of weak
Shot
ground.
return, but he didn't get it through. He's
The double
moved,
here
Skipper.
for the round.
Looks like he's got a little extra something in his shoes this time up. He hit that one on a line.
That's just a single again. No, because we used the extra base card.
Oh, that was a
I don't
smash.
think
It's
the
a
runner
ringing
scored.
double.
These fans have been looking for something.
So yeah, I wonder
sure.
what's going to happen. Yeah, let me turn. So if you're tied 1-1, I wonder what is the tiebreaker. Let's see. It's kind of goofy little animations. Alright.
What a finish.
Yeah, so I
It's
guess
a
we
two-way
tied.
tie.
Well, well, maybe not. I don't know. Well, when I played this before, I never ended in a tie, so obviously you would have first, second, third, fourth in the stairs there. Yeah, and that's Baseball Blast. So that's what I would call the main game in. Is it called Baseball Blast? Yeah, which is the name of the game anyway. So that is the main multiplayer experience. Again, it's hard to rate it because it's not like you're actually playing the game of baseball. It's just kind of a mini game marathon with some little baseball card game in the middle. But it's actually kind of fun for what it is. I could see this being pretty fun for families, and that's definitely what it was marketed towards. But anyone could enjoy this, honestly. Just go in with an open mind, knowing that it's not going to be a super deep game. And again, you're going to spend most of your time playing mini games, but it actually is pretty fun. All right, guys. So what I think we're going to do here is I'm going to grade each mini game on a scale of, let's just say, 1 to 5. And we'll just do a quick review of each of them. Alright, so in Around the Horn, you select up or down, depending on which flight path you want the ball to take, and you want to execute it as quickly as possible. You'll get a coin if you'll lose a coin if you hit the red ones, and you'll get a coin if you hit the gold ones, and that's pretty much it. I'll give it 2 stars out of 5. Because it is all right to play, but it doesn't really use any of the motion controls, and it isn't really all that creative. Alright, so Bumper Base is kind of like the Bumper Balls mini game on Baseball Blast, or I should say Baseball Blast's version of Bumper Balls from Mario Party. It is barely baseball themed whatsoever. But it does use motion controls, even if it is a bit awkward. But once you get used to it, it actually is one of the more fun games to play, and one of the more difficult games to play against computer players. So I'll give this one 4 stars. Again, even though it's not really baseball, baseball themed whatsoever, other than the skin that the cars are in, and the fact that you're playing on top of a giant base. But it's still pretty fun to play. So yeah, I'll give it 4 stars. So Cannonballs is probably my favorite mini game, and not just because, well, it doesn't hurt that it is the Pittsburgh Pirates theme mini game, but it's actually pretty fun to play. You just essentially hit regular or flaming cannonballs back at ships, and you're scored based on how well you do. Again, it's mostly a timing mechanism for swinging, but the game's actually pretty fun to play, and so I'll give this one 5 stars. Yeah, we'll give this one 5 stars. Why not? Next up is Carnival, which is a mini game that uses the light gun feature of the Wii remotes. Basically, there'll be some targets on screen that'll say different baseball-related outcomes like strikeout, ground out, home run, single, double, etc. And you just have to select them before your opponents. And at the bottom, it keeps track of which ones you select, and then you try to put up as many runs as possible. If you do select a negative outcome, though, it will give you outs. And then eventually I think you do get eliminated. But the game, again, is pretty basic, doesn't really use... is baseball adjacent, I would say. You're not really swinging or pitching, you're just kind of selecting things on the screen. But it is pretty fun to play, so I'll give this one 3 stars. Alright, so City Ball is kind of a weird one. There's a little mini map on the bottom of the screen that indicates trophies hidden throughout a grid on a city. And you have to try to collect all the trophies using that map by throwing them down the streets. But you may run into some dead ends, and you may not be able to collect all of them, but you try to do it as fast as you possibly can. There's no control issues or anything, but it just isn't that fun to play, so I'll give this one 2 stars. Alright, Diamond Double is just a batting practice minigame where you try to time your swings to get the center, the icons on the center of the screen. The closer you are to the middle, the higher number of points you get, and then any icons you hit, it automatically bumps up that specific icon to the next tier, which will give you more points if you hit it again. It's pretty basic, not really that fun to play. I'll give this one 2 stars. Alright, so next up is Dodgeball, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You and up to the 4 players will try to dodge the batting practice machine, and if you get hit, you are out. It's very basic, but it does use motion control, so you tilt the Wii remote left or right, or front and back to go from the back row to the front row, which is there's really no reason to be in the front row unless you're trying to get around someone. Pretty basic, but it does work. It's not broken or anything like that, so I'll give that 2 stars. Next up is Fielding Frenzy, where you try to collect all the baseballs that are raining down on screen, and the more you get in a row, the higher multiplier you get for collecting all the baseballs. It does have motion control, so you do tilt it left and right. It does respond pretty well. This one's decently fun to play, so I'll give it 3 stars. Flyball Fury might also be one of my favorite games on here, next to Cannonballs. This one's pretty fun. There's a grid in the outfield. Well, not a grid, you just play in the outfield with all your opponent players, and you try to collect the baseballs that come down on screen. If the shadow gets too big, though, then you know it's not a real baseball and you want to avoid it. But you can also punch your other players when you run around, or shove them, I think the game says. Or there's also defensive way to block that as well. The game's pretty fun. This kind of feels like a better Mario Party type mini game. So I'll give this one a safe 4 stars. Next up is Galaxy Ball, which is kind of a 3-part mini game where you try to hit the ball as far as you possibly can. You shake the Wii remote for power, then you have to swing and time it well, and then you kind of steer the baseball through outer space to try to get it to go as far as it possibly can. The idea of the game is pretty fun, but it actually doesn't work all that well because it's just over too quickly. I don't like the fact that you have to take turns while playing this, so it does play pretty slow. So a couple tweaks and it would have been much, much better, but I'll give it 2 stars with how it plays in the game. Mystery Fan is kind of a weird one. It uses the light gun mechanism of the Wii remote as well, and the game will show you a picture of a fan at the top of the screen, and then you just have to find them in the crowd. The game is probably the worst one, as it just isn't very fun. And again, the characters in this game all kind of look the same, which makes the game, again, not very fun to play. I see what they were going for here to mix it up a little bit, but it's probably it's one of the worst mini games, if not the worst, in the entire experience, just for the simple fact it's not very fun to play and kind of dives right into what makes the presentation of the element a little rough around the edges. So I'll give this one 1 star. Pennant Race is just a little race where you control the flight of a baseball through an obstacle course of baseball players. If you run right into a pennant, you get a bit of a turbo boost, and you try to finish it as quickly as possible. But for some reason, there are no motion controls here, which you think would kind of be the entire point, and the game isn't fun to play at all. Again, it's functional, just is not very fun, but I'll give it just 1 star because I never want to really play that one again. Pitcher Perfect is kind of this weird target pitching minigame where you select which direction you want to pitch in on the control pad, and then you collect the targets as you pitch. The weird part is, though, it isn't controlled by curving the Wii remote or anything like that. The type of pitch is just controlled by what you select on the D-pad for the most part, and then you make a throwing gesture and that activates it. So kind of a missed opportunity there. I don't really enjoy this one whatsoever, so this is a 1 star mini game for me. Next up is Slide Slide, which might be the most basic mini game here. Your character just kind of runs along a path, and you can jump to try to avoid obstacles or collect as many stars as you possibly can. And you can either press A to jump or B to slide, and that's it. The game isn't very fun. I, again, never really want to play that mini game at all if I was just sitting here playing with my friends with it. So this one is a 1 star. Stealing bases is exactly what it sounds like. From home plate, you will race the other players to collect first, second, and third and bring it back home. You can also shove them to try to steal the base. It's a okay concept, but it just, again, isn't really that fun to play, so I'll give this one 2 stars. Team Twist is a little puzzle game where you will try to create the different logos of baseball teams as quickly as you possibly can. When you select a piece, you can then twist the Wii remote to lock it in place, and it's kind of a race against the clock, and it's actually a little bit harder than it might look. This one actually provided some challenge, and it's still decently fun to play. So I'll give this one an easy 3 stars. I actually like it, but it's not the most exciting game you'll ever play, but it is clever and it does work. And the final mini game here is the Wave mini game, where you have to press the button as indicated on screen and then time it when it's your turn in the wave, and your fan character will then stand up. I actually like this one. This one's pretty good. Again, it's basic and not as good as the top tier ones in this game, but it's perfectly fine, and I like it as a minigame. So I'll give this one 3 stars. Alright, so the final minigames you see here are unlocked by playing single player mode, and that's the 2 on the bottom, Trivia Time and Poster Puzzle. Trivia Time is actually pretty solid here. I mean, it is just a baseball trivia game, but the questions can be quite tricky, and you can play against other human players as well. We'll play a few questions here, and we'll see how we do. I don't have much faith. What is a slugfest?
What is a slugfest?
And the choices are a high score.
That's right.
A high-scoring game.
Speaking of which, we will be playing through Slugfest, MLB Slugfest at some point. It's pretty easy. Where are you? Ricky. Alright, so I just put it on easy or normal, but yeah, these questions aren't bad. But I did play an earlier one on hard, and I had no idea what the answers were to any of them.
You ready? You look ready. Which state
I'm going to guess California, LA, San Diego, San Francisco, Oakland. Yeah.
That's right.
California, home of the Angels, Athletics, Dodgers, Padres, and Giants.
What player hit in 56 consecutive games in
The longest hitting streak in the majors, 56 games.
And what team did he play for?
Okay, these are your choices. Joe DiMaggio of the New York Yankees.
Joe DiMaggio.
Joe DiMaggio. Many
Is
people will say
Willie
that
Killer a
record
real
will
person?
never
I don't know.
And the winner is
Doesn't sound
number
like it.
one.
Or it sounds like someone from the 1920s. Alright, the last thing I'll show you guys here is a poster puzzle. Oh, you can do it with more than one player as well. We'll put it on hard, and we'll see how we do. But this is exactly what it sounds like. You use the twisting mechanic like you do in that one mini game, and you try to put together the puzzle.
That's what I call a
We'll
serious
see if we do it. Probably not, though. Alright. Let's try to line up jerseys. See an N.
Forget to watch the clock. This is major. That one goes there.
They really don't give you much time, to be honest. Ugh. Alright.
It's all about the big picture.
But you really don't have that much time to do it. Yeah, it's pretty hard. The controls don't really hold it back. It's kind of fun to twist them around, and it works pretty well. But yeah, that's technically the last mini-game mode in the entire experience. Something I did want to talk about just briefly is the fact that this game is made by 2K. If anyone knows the history of baseball video games on Nintendo consoles, once EA was out of the picture with their MVP baseball series because 2K kind of bought up the license, they stopped making serious baseball games for Nintendo consoles and just kind of focused in other areas. Now there is a 2K series on the Nintendo Wii, and we will play one of those games, at least one of those games a little bit later on in this series, but it's clear 2K's attention went to other places, and they never actually really made a great baseball game, with other franchises like the show kind of taking over. It is interesting to see that they spent time making a separate baseball game for the Nintendo Wii only, although not that they had to dedicate a ton of resources to Baseball Blast. And it is in line with what the console was producing at that time, which is more family-centric games and less of those serious simulation-style baseball games. Another thing I wanted to talk about real briefly is the fact that this game says it's compatible with Wii Motion Plus, which I don't know if you can see there on the cover. On the back of the box, it does advertise that as well. And Wii Motion Plus, if you don't know, came out halfway through the Wii life cycle to basically be a better motion capture experience, but developers never really used this at all, and it didn't really make much of a difference in almost every video game that came out. Now, this game does support Wii Motion Plus, but you don't really see a difference between mini games in this than earlier games in the Wii console lifespan, which has been unfortunate because when you see a baseball game and you see the Wii Motion Plus icon attached to it, you assume it's going to be a better hitting experience than like a Wii Sports or something like that, which did pretty well without the Motion Plus capabilities, but it simply doesn't even try. Everything is just timing based for the most part. We don't even try to use the motion capture's ability of the Wii Remote, which is a bit of a bummer if you're looking for a video game representation of a baseball swing. You're not going to find that here in any of the mini games or the Baseball Blast game mode whatsoever. Alright guys, so on to our final review here, and our final ranking. And this one is, like I mentioned before, this one's kind of tricky because it's not a regular baseball video game, so I'm kind of looking at this as what game I would want to play if I was forced to. And so far, if you remember, Mike Piazza's Strike Zone was just, for lack of a better phrase, the most unfun game on here by far, but did do a couple of things well, enough that made it better than an F grade. But Baseball Blast is way more fun to play than that game. But at the same time, it's not a true baseball game. I had about as much fun with it. I've had about as much fun with it as these C games here, both Bases Loaded 3 and Super Baseball Simulator 1000. So I think we're going to have to go with a C. Yeah, we're going to have to go with a C grade here. That's kind of my instincts. I thought this game would be, honestly, I thought it would be terrible. And a couple of the mini games are, and there's a lot of things not to like about it. But it is way more fun than it has any right to be. It is like a Mario Party themed around baseball. And again, it's kind of unfortunate 2K spent time making games like this versus a better game for the Wii era. But that's kind of come and gone. So this is kind of this kind of represents the Nintendo Wii and kind of what a lot of those games were about. It actually is halfway decent to play. So yeah, we're going to have to go with a C grade for Baseball Blast, but I'm going to put it behind Baseball Simulator 1000 and Bases Loaded 3. Those games are better actual authentic baseball games that were about the same level of fun as Baseball Blast. So we'll put it on the bottom part of the C ranking here. Alright guys, so thanks for watching episode 8 of the Retro Baseball Game Challenge. And again, if this is your first time watching this video, this is where I kind of let you know what we'll be playing next. And I haven't decided yet. We're going to be going back in time even farther. And so I'm thinking we're going to play either the original NES baseball game or one that came out a little bit after that. Also on the NES, but it's just called Major League Baseball. Honestly, never heard of it, even though I know it's just called Major League Baseball, I'm pretty sure is the official name. But we'll play one of these two games and kind of see how it plays. But other than that, thanks for watching. Subscribe to be notified for when the next episode comes out. Because it is the baseball season, I'll be putting a few more of these out while I have the motivation to do so. But other than that, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you next time.